Now we are going to move away from this meeting and look at an exclusive phone call that has taken place with the BBC, where US President Donald Trump has said he is disappointed but not done with Russian President Vladimir Putin. When asked if he trusted the Russian leader, Trump responded that he almost trusts no one. Additionally, Trump also shared his frustrations with Putin, saying he thought a deal with Russia was possible on 4 separate occasions, but each time it fell apart. These comments come hours after Trump announced plans to send weapons to Ukraine and threatened severe tariffs on Russia if a ceasefire deal isn't reached within 50 days. In the wide-ranging interview from the Oval Office, Trump also endorsed NATO. This is despite having once called the alliance obsolete. He further added that he now believes NATO is becoming the opposite because members are paying their own bills. He also reaffirmed support for NATO's common defence principle, saying it enables smaller countries to defend themselves against larger ones. Well, Craig, thank you very much for staying with us. I would just briefly like to get your thoughts on these comments. Of course, Australia, part of the coalition of the willing, the group of nations supporting Ukraine. Trump seemingly overnight shifting his stance now in this interview with the BBC, acknowledging that deals have been close, but Russia is not making that move forward. What's your initial thoughts on Trump's transition seemingly back towards a more hardline stance on Russia?
Well, I think he's been better briefed from NATO, and Hegseth, the Secretary of Defence, has really had to change his posture. But once again, Trump refers to trade and trade balances and the power of the dollar. He wants to sell this not as a security alliance being bolstered, but as a net win for the US. And once again, it comes down to sheer economics. He's a mercantilist, really. Look, it's heartening. His framing is always in the best interest of the US. But I think for the Ukrainians, they don't care how they get the weapons, who pays for them, they need them now. And if we're going to have democracy and our NATO allies supported, I don't care how it's sold to the media, long as it gets done in a timely fashion. So, yeah, interesting developments. 50 days for Putin. Will he respond? Is there teeth in this negotiation? It's too early to say. But finally, Trump has woken up to the idea of being played by a statesman, another superpower, and Putin's a mastermind. So, yeah, finally, he's turned a corner and understood that Putin has been playing him.
Yes, absolutely, of course. And Craig, just to bring an end to this discussion, of course, the sanctions that Trump's mentioned he might impose on Russia could have ramifications as well for third parties, given the fact that of course, it would be secondary sanctions on countries buying energy from Russia. China is a key importer of Russian energy, also India as well. Where Australia are positioned, how do you think that could impact them and their trade relations with those countries?
You know, well, global economic relations are not always aligned. We know that there is a grey fleet or a ghost fleet of oil tankers that's moving Russian energy resources around the world. We know who the benefactors are. We know that India has been importing increasing amounts of energy from Russia. I'm sure the US will place more pressure on India. So I see there's more friction likely to be brought to bear on China and India if Russian tariffs are going to have an effect. So it really then comes back to the relationship between Rubio with his counterparts in India and China. Yeah, imposing unilaterally tariffs like this on Russia isn't going to work well unless he's going to get the cooperation from other trade partners and allies. So India has a big role to play in seeing whether these tariffs will actually hurt Russia in the long run.
Absolutely. Craig Hodges, thank you ever so much for taking the time to speak with us. We now stay with the Russia-Ukraine conflict and several people